Welcome to another episode of WTF Cinema.
Will Smith. Will Smith.
Is it as easy as it looked?
No, sir. No, sir, it wasn't.
Will Smith.
The title held by me, M.I.B. means what you think you saw, you did not see.
Will Smith.
Welcome to Earth.
Will Smith? It has to be said that of all of the movies that Will Smith has done, this is absolutely one of them. This is Hancock. We open our movie with a passed-out, drunken Hancock being shoved awake by a small boy and being told that villainy is afoot. Oh man, I feel ready for my sides to split from hilarity. And so we're very quickly given the basic premise of this film, which is that Will Smith is not a very good superhero. He's drunk, he's bitter, he's angry, and he doesn't care about the effects that his actions have on people or property around him. A significant chunk of the movie is spent mining this particular concept for what passes for comedy. We also have Jason Bateman, a PR guy who's going to kind of be our counterpoint to Hancock. See, he's going to be our real hero with the ideals and everything, and you know this because throughout the movie he continually talks about saving and changing the world. Gee, I wonder if his hopeless idealism is going to somehow rub off on Hancock and then improve him as a person. I think I may have just spoiled the entire movie. Jason finds himself stuck in his car in the middle of a railroad track with a train bearing right down on him. Great. So one of our main characters is too stupid to realize that you never stop your car on train tracks. Hancock takes a few minutes away from being drunk and swearing at people to help out the situation. And then he tells everybody what we're all thinking.
All of you people blocking the intersection, you're all idiots.
So it turns out everybody in the city hates Hancock, except for Justin Bateman, because he just had his life saved and all. And this raises an interesting question. If everybody in the entire city hates Hancock, why is he still there? I mean, they legitimately hate him, and for a reason. Even the news reports point out he causes billions of dollars in damage. He doesn't put any thought into what he's doing. Slamming into buildings, tearing up the freeway every time he takes off or lands. He's just destroying everything. And from a cost-benefit ratio, it's not really panning out. Like, they show us the scene of him capturing these thugs, and he easily does millions and millions in damage to the city to capture 3 guys running away in a car from the police. Millions of dollars to apprehend 3 criminals in high-speed pursuit. Not really utilizing your resources there. So if this is your problem with Hancock, why is he still there? I mean, admittedly, you can't just pick him up and throw him out. Invincible Superman. But surely the mayor could pass some kind of ordinance asking that he leave. I'm sure if the police department, everybody publicly just said, we kindly request for you to leave our city. Or even the president could get involved and be like, Mr. Hancock, it's time for you to leave America. Please. I mean, surely there's some way you could get him to move on. You don't just have to have this drunken, bitter superhero tearing up your city constantly. Anyway, Hancock meets Jason's wife, Aeon Flux, and the connection is immediate and evident. Hancock is very clearly gonna bang his friend's wife, as any superhero would. Never one to miss an opportunity, Jason offers to be Hancock's PR guy. And I gotta admit, that concept could be interesting. The idea of, the superhero who has no clue what he's doing, having a PR guy to help him become the superhero that he could be. That's an interesting concept. Or it could be. I mean, it's not here, but it could be.
Just want to ask you to lay off him a little bit.
Why, sir?
Okay, I get that the kid's supposed to be a bully. The kid is supposed to be an over-the-top bully. And there's nothing remotely realistic about this character in the way it's written. But you still gotta respect the cojones of a boy willing to mouth off to a guy who could basically punch him to the moon. Now, just in case the audience doesn't find angry drunken Hancock to be a sympathetic character at all, they show us a monster beyond reproach, truly beyond the pale of all that is horrible and terrible in this world. They give us an unrepentant beast. They show us Nancy Grace. All of a sudden, Hancock doesn't seem so bad, does he?
You are not above the law. You have failed to show it over 600 subpoenas in civil suits. Anybody else would be held in contempt. But oh no, not you.
I think you just described exactly what being above the law is like. His first step as Hancock's PR manager is to tell him that he should surrender himself to go to jail. Because then, while he's in jail atoning for his sins, more or less, the city will realize how badly they need him, and they'll call him out almost immediately, and it'll be fine. Seems like a plan that could backfire pretty quickly. Okay, seriously, why would any of these guys stand up to Hancock like this? The dude is super strong and bulletproof, and yet you guys think you're gonna beat him up? It's just so idiotic. It's essentially like a guy going up to a freight train and being like, "You want some of this? You want some of this?" Dude, it's a freight train. You're gonna lose. Sadly, this level of stupidity is not specific just to this movie. It seems to be the standard for superheroes.
Franny, get away from that machine.
Yeah, see? Superman busts in, so one guy takes a swing at him. You know, just in case for some reason his power stopped working for 5 seconds. And the other guy starts shooting bullets, because I know he's bulletproof. But... And then, you know, he runs out of bullets, so he chucks the gun at him. Because, you know, the bullets didn't work, but maybe the gun will. I saw it work in Billy the Kid versus Dracula. What is wrong with these thugs? Why are they all unable to process the simple notion of, if I go up against him, I'm gonna lose, so I should surrender? Also, more importantly, why does Superman duck to avoid the gun?
You don't move, your head is going up his ass.
Yeah, that's a cute line, and he's used it several times in the movie already. But I think we can all agree that that's not physically possible, right? I mean, in order to actually achieve that desired effect, you would almost have to literally pulverize the one man's skull. I mean, just into bone meal inside the skin in order to make it so it could even fit inside the cavity you're aiming for. I realize I'm giving you way too much detail on something you don't want to picture, but all I'm saying is it's not physically possible. You would kill one, if not both of the people involved. So, it's a cute line, but can we move on? Okay. Clearly at this point we've just given up on the concept of telling a compelling story. I don't know what the point is. I mean, clearly, right there, the filmmakers have surrendered any sense of good taste or desire to tell a story, and they've gone for just pure, nonsensical slapstick. There's a lot of physical humor in this movie, and most of it works contextually. This is just... And why is the Sanford and Son theme playing during this? Is that racist? I don't remember a lot of heads being shoved into anuses in Sanford and Son. I could be remembering it wrong, though. While playing basketball, Hancock decides to jump over the fence to go get a ball that, you know, he missed the shot, the ball went flying off, so he goes to get it. As soon as he's over the fence, the guards, perimeter breach, alarms start going off, dogs start barking. Really, what are you gonna do? Dude can fly and is bulletproof. The only reason he's in that prison is because he's choosing to be in the prison. How on earth are you all reacting like you're going to go get him back? Nobody in this entire movie seems to understand the concept of invincible. If he wants out of the prison, he's out. Luckily, Hancock goes back in with them all. Crisis averted. Finally, after spending weeks in prison, a situation comes up where the chief of police believes that it might be best to call him a superhero. And so Hancock goes in with a new costume and a new theme song.
Don't break the building, don't break the building, don't break the building.
Seriously, again, the superhero who is nigh invulnerable shows up. You should probably just surrender. Long story short, the invulnerable, indestructible, invincible hero walks in and saves the day. But this time he does it with a minimum of collateral damage. So the city loves him! Look at that! 1 hour of not being a complete jerk turns the whole thing around. That's all it takes to win over people after years of abuse and destroying their city. You just gotta not be a jerk for 1 hour. Hancock finally begins to reveal his origin story, which it takes forever to get all the details of. And then once you have all the details, you still don't understand what the hell is going on. But he woke up like 80 years ago in a hospital with no memory of who he was to find out that he was invincible and apparently immortal. And that's all he's got. I'm sure more will be revealed in time. So, to repay his friend who has helped him turn his life around and help build up his public image, he decides to start making out with his wife, who promptly throws him through the house. Drama! The next morning, we get a series of him assaulting Aeon Flux with various kitchen implements, you know, stabs her with a fork, the fork doesn't penetrate her skin, breaks a rolling pan over her head. Really, we get the point. I don't know that you have to keep doing the same joke over and over again. I mean, far be it from me to interrupt your storytelling expertise, but the horse is dead. Stop beating it. Meanwhile, in prison, the three characters that Hancock has hurt the most in this film, the bank robber that he cut the hand off of, which I didn't show you, and the two gentlemen who had an intimate connection, decide to team up to take him down. They are ordinary criminals going up against an invulnerable superhero. I guess they all think they're Lex Luthor. Hancock finally convinces Aeon Flux to have a private conversation with him so she can tell him where they come from. And she reveals that they're part of a superpowered race that's been around for a long time, but all the others are gone. And that's all we get for now. The discussion quickly degenerates into name-calling and fighting. Because, you see, when you've gone 80 years desperate to find out who you are, where you come from, and what's happened, and then somebody comes along who has all that information and is willing to share it with you, your first response is to get into petty arguments with them and not let them finish explaining before you start hitting each other with trucks and controlling the weather, which is an ability only she has, apparently, but he doesn't. She's also stronger than him, so what does he have that she doesn't? Don't know. I mean, these powers are just... I got no clue. Surprisingly, destroying all of downtown really is a way to get the attention of people, including her husband, who now knows that she's superpowered, and then is taught that, oh yeah, by the way, she's Hancock's wife as well. So now we've got a bizarre superhero love triangle going on. Because that's what I signed up. Later, while foiling a robbery, Hancock realizes, I've been shot! And then they rush him to a hospital. While he's in the hospital, the rest of the backstory is, well, explained as much as we're going to get. See, apparently, his race of people was built. Don't know by whom or how or when, but they were built. And they were built in such a way that they had these amazing superpowers, but they were built in pairs. And if the two pairs hang out with each other for a long period of time, they become mortal and grow old and die, which is what all the others have done. The only way to have their powers is to stay apart from one another. Except there's something about them. They're drawn to each other. It's just physics, we're told. Because, yeah, I remember this happening in my physics class. The professor sitting down and explaining to us all about superpowered beings who were created before humanity existed. And they live among us and they're drawn to each other. It's physics. And so that's their origin story, is that they have these abilities as long as they're apart, but if they're together, they become mortal. And 80 years ago, when they were mostly mortal, Hancock got injured in a robbery attempt, and the bullet penetrated his brain, and, he lost a lot of memories, and so she ran away and left him alone in a hospital. Even for a superhero movie, these are really complex and bizarre origins. Who built them? How did they build them? When did they build them? Why did they build them this way? And how are these two the only two that are left? All of the others decided it was time to grow old and die, except these two, magically, of all of their race, however many there were, which we don't know, they're the only ones left. And we don't know why. I'm guessing this movie was really planning on a sequel to flesh this out. But no time for all of that. The villains from earlier are attacking. And even though Hancock isn't invincible anymore, he still has his super strength. And whether or not he's bulletproof is kind of up for grabs, because sometimes he should be hurt, but he's not, and other times he isn't, and he just starts throwing villains out of windows until there's one villain left. During the fight, we're shown that Aeon Flux is, reacting to every bit of damage that Hancock suffers. He gets hit in the head, her head goes flying, and the doctors are trying to help her. This is bizarre, though, because A, she never mentioned them having, sympathetic pains between the two of them. At no other point in the movie did it happen. When he took the original bullet wound and went to the hospital, we didn't see her go, and go to the hospital. And also there was that whole 80 years ago he took a bullet to the brain which wiped out his memory thing. Yet, her memory's fine. Did they just develop a new superpower? Their new superpower of dramatic convenience! Anyway, Hancock is pretty much out for the count, because now I guess he's almost completely mortal, so Justin Bateman takes out the main bad guy. Superhero movie where the normal Joe finishes the climactic battle. Depending on what you were looking for. It's an interesting twist, but it's certainly not a superhero movie. Oh, and then Hancock and Aeon Flux die. Should I have said spoiler alert? I'm never sure when I'm supposed to do that. Luckily, the dramatic tension of them being dead doesn't last for long as Hancock lifts himself up and starts running away from the hospital as fast as he can. The further away he gets, the more his powers come back and the more she recovers. Even though he's only a couple of feet away. I guess distance is... How close do they really need to be? Opposite ends of the house? Does that, honey, I don't want to age this weekend, so you go stay in the guest house. But anyway, my favorite part of this whole scene, though, is the incredibly dramatic music. It's this is the ultimate scene. Forget about bad guys. This is the ultimate dramatic scene. Watch as Hancock runs away! Our movie concludes with Hancock back to being a superhero with a pet eagle, and Aeon Flux and Justin Bateman being a happy family again. The end. Honestly, the movie's not that terrible. I mean, don't get me wrong. You have to ignore the over-the-top, bizarre, and really unexplained origin story. And you have to let go of the fact that they get in this gig where it's like, ooh, you know what would be funny? Let's do this. Ooh, you know what would be funny? Let's do this. At its heart, there's some interesting ideas there. I just feel like the movie maybe took a couple of wrong turns. But it's not that bad. It was trying to do something different. You should always applaud somebody trying to do something different. But along the way, they kind of fell into the same jokes and cliches that you would expect. Still, it could have been a lot worse. Or not. See you next time.
Thank you for watching WTF Cinema. Until next time, what the f***, man?
But this raises a very interesting question. If nobody in the city likes him because he's a... Thank you. Thank you for ruining everything. I've actually been shot. And so he's rushed immediately to a hospital. That was stupid.